we really haven't had a big fight that the industry got behind since Bill C-51. But the industry's changed. We've lost whole, both within the industry and within natural health product supporters, kind of a generation has already gone on and a new generation has come up. And if you don't understand how ridiculous it is, then you really aren't going to get what's happening. When people are confused and they say, well, Health Canada is there to protect our health. I challenge them and I say, well, okay, you read the Food and Drug Act, it's short, and go to the Food and Drug Regulations. But the challenge is you find anywhere in the legislation where Health Canada is charged with protecting health or charged in acting in the public interest, or charged with any duty to protect us in any way, however remote. And it's just, you won't find it. It took me a long time to understand this. And actually, I came to the understanding during the True Hope criminal trial. So that was probably back around 2003. And I have a Health Canada inspector on the stand. I think her name was Sheila Wheelock. And I'm trying to set her up for another question down the road. So I have the preliminary questions to box her in, and I'm expecting them all to be just automatic yeses. And one of the questions was something like, as a Health Canada inspector, you're there to protect our health. And she says no. And I'm surprised. I'm, up on the stand, I have to keep my poker face, and I just, well, surely, and I kept circling around. I couldn't get it. And finally, she explained, no, Health Canada is not there to protect your health. Health Canada is there to enforce the Food and Drug Act and regulations. And that's 100% correct. And our drug regulations are, if they're not there to protect our health, and they're not, they're there to protect intellectual property rights. Health Canada internally refers to the pharmaceutical companies as their clients. The self-care framework was presented as non-negotiable. So basically the industry is being told, we're telling you what's happening, but we don't want your input because it doesn't matter. Now we've accepted cost recovery, but they've been very clear the goal is full harmonization with the chemical drug companies. So, we're back to 1996, 1997. Where Health Canada was starting to enforce the chemical drug regulations on the natural health product industry, and we had the Citizen Rebellion. But you have to understand, the goal is full harmonization. It has always been. They do not want this industry competing with the chemical drug model. They do not want us to have the right to choose how we're going to treat ourselves. The discussion paper, if you download it, I don't know, it's 80, 100 pages long, but really the discussion paper itself is very short. And then it's just all the information. So you've got it right there, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And it ignores all of the history, and it ignores the reality. It's just the smoke and mirrors being used to get to an objective that was predetermined in advance. If we think the problem is just, we got to defeat cost recovery and then we can go home, even if we manage to push this off, which I'm skeptical, and I'll go into why I'm skeptical, we're not solving the problem at all. And this has been the problem with the industry, is that the industry will sometimes get excited about specific issues being imposed. The industry's problem is at times the industry would support initiatives to stop this, but never really get behind solving the problem. I mean, when the self-care framework was announced in 2017, and go and read those initial discussion papers, but even the current one, I mean, it's pretty obvious this is a train wreck, and we couldn't get the industry interested in supporting us to create a citizen movement then, which is when it should have happened. We're in a much worse situation now, that this is about trade harmonization, full international trade harmonization. But One Health is the World Health Organization's new initiative. negotiating a treaty that Canada is participating in to basically have, binding WHO authority upon, the nations that become part of this to push a One Health initiative. But they're taking away those parts of the regulations that privilege any human being's right to have control over their own body. So the international community in Canada are moving to a regulatory environment where basically human health will not be privileged. So where we don't have any autonomy over our own bodies. Like I think for us to back this off, I mean, Bill C-51 has to look like the public reaction to Bill C-51 has to look like a kindergarten party. We scared them. I remember I was at a meeting in the Prime Minister's office, and Laurie Thronis was escorting us out after the meeting. And Peter Haugesson asked Laurie, hey, have you read Sean's discussion paper on Bill C-51? And you know how in cartoons a red line will go up a person's face? It's the only time I've ever seen that in my life, is literally a red line went up Laurie Thronis's face. That question upset him. And then he explained that the mail was coming into the Minister of Health's office in wheelbarrows, like multiple wheelbarrows every day. So in that campaign, we shut down every single MP's office. And we got Health Canada to back down for a while, but they're kind of like the Chinese government. They've got a plan, and they will relentlessly go towards that plan. And so if there's a setback, they just patiently wait. Are there any other freedom groups left? I don't think there are. And we've been the only group since 2008 that has actually honestly and with horsepower analyzed all the different initiatives and equipped the citizen to act by letting them know what's going on. I'm going to refuse to work with the Canadian Health Food Association because they have been the facilitator to allow this to happen. And they're always embarrassing in what they do to try and counter. And I actually think that their current initiative, you go look at their page, they're factually and legally wrong. I don't think they understand what's going on. And I think that their initiative actually is meant to water down a real counteroffensive. Bar none, this is our biggest fight. But it's also our biggest opportunity. If we literally can ignite a citizen rebellion, and there has been success in the past because citizens do get touchy about the prospect of losing their right to natural health products. They're popular, and they're popular because they work. This is part of something that is going to just dwarf problems to your business. This is a historical turning point. If you read the cost recovery points in the discussion paper, full stop, you've got to be concerned. They're just outrageous fees. They're going to use a large part of those fees to create an entire new infrastructure to be coming to your premises and verifying things before they issue products licenses and site licenses, and be having spot visits and inspections. They were talking about administrative penalties when they marched across the country in the self-care framework. You don't get to appeal to a court or anything like that. You basically can appeal to their manager. If you think the fees are your problem is going to be the inspections and the ever-changing and ever-tightening GMPs, and then the administrative penalties that come in. Health Canada will basically come and just have unreasonable demands, and a lot of companies just do it. But when they're unreasonable, we've had tremendous success at getting them to back off or be reasonable. But with Vanessa's law, and I think I'm going to close my law practice because I don't want to have these conversations. I'm just saying you can't resist. There's not, like, what's the point? Why even hire me? Because if you don't do exactly what they say, I mean, they'll destroy you with these large fines. Like, you're done. That's where we're going with Vanessa's law. And I don't want to, as a lawyer, have to participate in those conversations because it will personally grieve me. Health Canada was clear once we've fully moved to the self-care framework, these are not products for which you would seek the advice of a healthcare practitioner licensed by a province. So, because a lot of you will be thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to have to pay the product licensing fee, just the yearly fee to keep for the right to continue to sell under the license. If you think you're not going to be reapplying when they change the rules for your products that you already have licenses for, you're crazy if you think you're not going to be paying those licensing fees. And you're crazy if you think you're going to have a license at the end of this for like what's going to be left. And then we're also going to lose the right to use traditional use evidence for efficacy claims. And then they're clear, the same standards of evidence for chemical over-the-counter drugs as other self-care products. There's going to be one set of evidence standards at the end of this. So, you know, when the new Tylenol comes out and Pfizer has to justify a novel chemical to Health Canada to get that on the market, that's going to be the standard of evidence that you're going to have to meet. And the goal is to get rid of most of the products. We're still going to have our, you know, vitamins and things like that. There's still going to be an industry, but it's going to be very, very different. And it's not going to be an industry that, you know, when a close family member needs a natural health product to save them or alleviate their suffering, that it's going to be there. So, you know, to use the words of Huxley, this is a brave new world, and we're there, and we have to decide what we're going to do about it.